One of the teams that we have our eyes on in the Houston area this year, and really have had our eyes on for the past couple of years, ever since they made a rather remarkable run to the state championship game, is Cy Ranch. Probably the best and most prominent team now in the Cypress Fairbanks ISD. And here to talk about his squad, Cy Ranch, the Cy Ranch Mustangs, is the head coach of Cy Ranch. It is Coach Gene Johnson. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great.
How's your off-season treating you?
It's going by really fast. It seems like we stuff more and more things into the summer, and so I don't know if there is a summer anymore.
So how do you balance that? How do you balance giving your kids, obviously they need a break from football to go off and have a summer, but also knowing that you got a game in 40-something days or 50-something days to get ready for and prepare for?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. It's it's kind of a high wire act, I guess. Trying to walk a balance on it, and but we'll finish up our summer strength and conditioning camp this week, and then a lot of our coaches will be at coaching school next week. So we give the guys 2 or 3 weeks off here, and it's maybe not the best scenario for them to walk away from training. But I think mentally and physically it's good for them to recharge their batteries and refresh their minds and get away a little bit. As I mentioned, in the last 10 or 15 years, we've added summer strength and conditioning programs and 7-on-7 programs, and at some point they need to be kids. And, I think fully they need a couple of weeks here to get away a little bit.
You guys last year ran off a 10-2 year, just suffered a one loss in very close loss to Katy Cinco Ranch in the opener, then rattled off 10 straight wins before falling to Katy. And even the loss to Katy was remarkable because you guys scored more points against Katy than they gave up to any team all year long. When you look at last year, how do you assess how things went for your Mustangs?
Well, I think every year you get a different group of kids, and, you hate to compare kids from one year to the next, but you like to look at those kids and kind of evaluate how they did with what they had. And from that aspect of it, I thought that last year's team grew and improved week to week and overcame the loss of one of our key defensive players. We lost Braden Stringer, the Texas Tech signee that ended up, he's up at Texas Tech now, but losing him, and they kind of rallied around each other a little bit and kept their win streak going. You mentioned the Katy game. We fell to Katy in the playoffs, and we've got to figure out how to close the gap. We lost Katy this past year and Allen the year before, and there's some great football teams even beyond them. There's some great teams in our district every year, and we got to figure out how to close the gap on some of these guys.
In your district, obviously, with all of the Cypress teams in that district, the enrollment numbers are always very tight. They're always very close, and it always seems like you guys are on the bubble going D1, D2. There are some situations where you guys can go D1, D2. Last year, you guys go Division II and lose to Katy, and now you guys go to Division. We were projecting you guys go to Division I, and of course, that's when Katy's going to go to Division I. So how do you it seems like you guys, as far as getting away from Katy, it seems like at some point you guys just have to stand up and to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Well, there's no doubt. At some point, if you want to win a state championship in this state, at some point you're going to have to beat an Allen or a Katy or a Cedar Hill, and there's probably half a dozen other programs that have played for and won multiple state championships, and there's going to be, whether it's in the state finals or the second round of the playoffs or first or fifth round of the playoffs, there's going to be some great teams out there, and so there's not really running and hiding from anyone is not an option. You've got to figure out how to get past that hurdle, and that's kind of what we're trying to gear our minds toward when we talk about closing that gap.
We're talking with Gene Johnson, the head coach of the Cy Ranch Mustangs, here on DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag DCTF Live. Coach, your 2016 squad looks loaded from a number of different standpoints, and I got to tell you, Max and I have talked about this. There's one guy on your team that we are really, really fond of, and it's I think you can probably guess, Ahmad Willis Dalton, your outstanding linebacker. It's okay. I imagine you're going to say that we are right in being pretty enamored with Mr. Willis Dalton.
Well, he's an okay player. He just has great coaches. It's his head coach is the answer to all of his success.
I was gonna say that this is a guy who
doesn't have many tools.
Yeah, not many tools, but it just seems like they put him in the right place.
Yeah,
we've always got him in the right place. No, what can Ahmad not do? He returns kicks for us. He's played safety. He's played backer for us. He's a great player, and what a lot of people would be enamored with if they had a chance to meet Ahmad and spend time with him off the field is how he's an intellectual kid. He's a very intelligent kid that's a great communicator, just a fun kid to be around. And, sometimes kids start achieving success and they start doing well and their egos get a little bit out of control, and he's just on the opposite end of that spectrum. A neat kid, and as you mentioned, just a tremendous player.
He really is. He really jumps off the screen at you whenever you watch him. It's really hard to take your eyes off him. And then on the offensive side, it seems like the offensive line looks pretty solid. I take a look at that offensive line; it's looking pretty good. But for me, the biggest question I have about it is what you're going to do at quarterback. Obviously, you're not going to replace a guy like you've had the past couple of years very easily. When you look at the offensive skill position spots, especially the quarterback spots, what are you seeing as far as your Mustangs are concerned?
Well, we left spring training in kind of the middle of a battle with two seniors that we have, Blake Nevins and Austin Goffney, and we kind of watched through 7-on-7 tournaments and watched those kids continue to work and develop, and we're entering this fall still in the middle of a competition there for that starting quarterback position, and we feel like certainly that is we want to get better and we want to improve at every position, but we feel like that quarterback position is an extremely critical position for us because, as you mentioned, we've lost a proven leader and certainly a talented player there, and so we've got to find somebody that can be productive at that position, or as you mentioned, some of those other talented, skilled guys that are surrounding them. Without the right guy to make that recipe go, that soup's not going to taste real good. So it's going to be really important we find the right guy there.
Colin Rock, a guy that not to keep talking about guys from last year, but signs with SMU, and boy, what a steal for SMU. A heady kid, a guy who you go back to that 2014 title game against Allen, just played his guts out. For any SMU fans who may be tuning in, what can you tell them about the kind of player they're getting in Colin Rock?
Well, we joked a little bit about what a great job that we do coaching here and putting them on in the right place. And I guess that's the thing I would say is that, this school and our program, we've been so lucky because we've been fortunate to coach kids like Colin that, it's almost like you're more of a manager than you're a coach here in some ways with some of these kids. And that's the way I would describe Colin. Just tremendous character, comes from a great home, a great background. And, I remember walking out after games and saying, well, Colin played pretty good. And Dad said, no, he screwed up on that long pass. He didn't hit that receiver. And just kids that have very high standards for themselves, and that parents that love them and support them, but really push them and encourage them to do their best. And, his ability was special, I think, as a lot of people saw on the field. But again, some of the things that you don't see and you wish people could get an opportunity to kind of get a window through to is what type of a leader he was for our program and what kind of a glue he was for our team of holding us together when things got tough. So I think, SMU certainly getting a talented athlete, but they're getting a great person. And I think, any football team can benefit from that kind of a character.
And then UIL realignment, of course, is a topic on everybody's mind, and you guys basically nothing changes. You guys get stuck. Get stuck with all of your school district bunkmates in that District 17 6A. But you guys are in an interesting situation in a 10-team district. meaning that one non-district game and then it's right into district play. How do you prepare your kids? What has to be different as far as preparing your kids, knowing that you don't have a 3, 4, 5 game build-up to get into district play? It's basically 1 week and then it all counts.
No doubt. I mean, it has been a change for me since moving to Cy-Fair. We've always been in places where we've had 3 pre-district games, and you've always used that as an opportunity to evaluate kids. And sometimes there's a kid through the first 2 or 3 games that starts to grow and play a little better maybe than another kid, and so we're thrown into the mix now in the second game of the season with the district game, and you're hoping that you're right on your personnel. And so I think that's the greatest challenge that it presents us. Teams typically in the second game of the season, you're probably going to be looking across the field and seeing another group of kids that they're going to make mistakes like your kids are. They're not as polished as they're going to be in weeks 9 and 10. And so then, where you try to get an advantage or try to get caught up is having the right personnel in the right places. And that's probably the biggest challenge. And it goes back to what we do in spring training and coming in fall camp with hopefully kids that are healthy and don't have many injuries, so that we can try to do our best to evaluate those kids and get them in the right place.
He is Gene Johnson. He is the head coach of the Cy Ranch Mustangs. Follow him on Twitter at Coach_G Johnson. Coach, appreciate your time. Go enjoy your off season. Quit talking to people like us.
Thanks so much. We appreciate you guys.